Earlier in 2025, a certain add-on was released for Train Sim World 5. I am, of course, referring to Thomas the Tank Engine, and to say his presence in the game has sparked controversy would be an understatement. In the time since my initial review of this add-on, my opinion has changed to be a more neutral one, so I thought I should make a video with my updated thoughts. I had been thinking about this idea for a while, but didn't get around to writing notes for it until today, that's the 24th of November, when I was riding aboard a bus in my local area. For a refresher, the North Western Railway's number 1 came to TSW5 on the 21st of March 2025, in between the Cardiff City Network and Spoorlijn Zwolle to Groningen routes. Of course, the add-on is also available for Train Sim World 6, and probably subsequent sequels as well, assuming Dovetail Games continues with this annual release malarkey. If there's one thing I can say about Train Sim World, it's that its DLC is often pretty expensive for what it is, and the Thomas add-on is no exception. Normally, locomotive add-ons only cost around 25 New Zealand dollars, but Thomas costs $36. That's the same price as the notorious S-Bahn Central Schweiz or the Glossop line. Although those routes are only 16 and 14 miles long respectively, I would argue that they still present better value for money than Thomas, even if mainly because they are at least full-on routes as opposed to just being rolling stock packs. The Thomas add-on features a set of 8 story-based scenarios, plus a new timetable, for the West Somerset Railway, a route that's been in TSW since May 2018, but it was remastered in early 2024. For anyone new to the Train Sim World series, the WSR can be acquired in a bundle with the Blue E2 and core game. Said bundle costs 57 New Zealand dollars on Steam, but it does not include any of the core TSW6 routes. In the time since my original review of the Thomas add-on, I had the privilege of riding on the West Somerset Railway in real life, so now I have a personal connection to the in-game route. In saying that, I am of the belief that DTG should not have built the Thomas add-on around an existing route. Instead, I think it would have been a better deal had Dovetail done a proper Isle of Sodor route. Something like the Farquhar branch would be nice, complete with Thomas, Percy the small engine, Toby the tram engine, Terence the tractor, and Bertie the bus. I would be interested in recreating Thomas and Bertie's iconic race from Season 1, as well as helping Mrs. Kindly to and from her cottage. So far, there has only been one additional Thomas-themed add-on in TSW following that first pack, and I haven't got it because the only new addition is the green livery that Thomas wears in The Adventure Begins. They're charging $14.75 NZD for what is essentially just a reskin and 3 scenarios, so make of that what you will. Thinking back to the story told through the main pack's scenarios, I won't spoil it for anyone who doesn't have the add-on, so all I'll say is that it's not my cup of tea, as someone who's more accustomed to the well-written fan-made stories, particularly those made in the Trains with a Z games. To be clear, I am not specifically referring to my own stories, although there are some in that collection of which I am proud. There are some things that I like about the Thomas add-on in TSW, including the sounds and modelling on the rolling stock. Thomas's eyes changing whenever you blast his whistle, and Dovetail getting former Season 17 to 21 narrator Mark Moraghan to narrate the scenarios. Similar to the scenes that I've set up in Train Simulator Classic, I sometimes like to pose the Sudrian locomotives alongside other trains like the Class 710 Aventra and Class 377 Electrostar, despite knowing that the CGI-era rolling stock clashes with the realistic train models. Instead of going for a TV series aesthetic, I think Dovetail should have modelled one of the real-life locomotives that's dressed up for Day Out with Thomas events. This particular 060 tank is only used as an example of what I'm talking about. I doubt she'd ever be modelled for TSW since she's on 3-foot 6-inch gauge in New Zealand. Things that I don't like are the inclusion of only simplified forward and backward controls for Thomas and Diesel, their lack of compatibility with normal rolling stock, Clarabelle not having a proper guards compartment modelled, despite having the correct blanked out window space at one end, and then there's that one scenario in which you could get caught off guard by an unexpected red signal. If I recall correctly, the specific scenario is the one where you're using Diesel to hide Annie and Clarabelle behind some trucks at Minehead, but I could be wrong. And then, of course, there's also the fact that, unless you don't mind running free roam scenarios on other routes, Thomas, Diesel, and their accompanying rolling stock are pretty much useless unless you also have the West Somerset Railway. Come to think of it, you could argue that the Sudrian rolling stock has no place in TSW, since the game is primarily focused on realistic motive power and routes. And thinking back to the scenarios for a moment, who is this Mr. Peters character, to which they keep referring, supposed to be? And I don't know about you, but to me, this depiction of the Fat Controller looks borderline unsettling. As for anything that could be done to improve the Thomas situation in TSW, I suggest adding the option to drive Thomas into Diesel with realistic controls, as well as sorting out Clarabelle's lack of a guards compartment, adding more Sudrian locomotives, such as Edward, Gordon and Henry, without referencing that one Season 1 episode, and making a proper Isle of Sodor route. At the end of the day, I've still got a lot of time for the North Western Railway's number 1, but I neither like nor dislike the add-on in Train Sim World. Regardless of whether you like or dislike the Thomas add-on yourself, I can understand both sides of the argument.